Okay, what really got me into hip hop music was I heard this group called Toxic Soul when I was like 15. And then one of my friends showed it to me and they're like, yo, these guys are from Edmonton. And I was like, there's rappers in Edmonton? That's weird.
I float away, my mind trying to take me to a new place.
Man, Doom Squad formed, oh man, I'm so bad with years. I want to say about 2013 we started.
See, I'm not sure when it was like official because we were always working together.
From what I can remember, it was like 2010, I think.
So 9 Lives' his older brother, Andy, rest in peace, started it. And he just wanted it to be like a group or whatever. Whatever it was for him was meaningful enough that, like, you know, he sat me and Stevie down one day and was like, yo, I want you guys to be part of this. And Stevie probably already knew what it was, and it, you know, they had talked about it, but so we just kind of did it. And not long after, Andy got killed. So me and Stevie just decided to, like, really, you know, we started our group. Because at the time I was with Trips doing this Cryptic Minds already, and like, so then me and Stevie started that. And then for a while I had these two groups. And then Trip started doing shows. Doom Squad was getting the opportunities and stuff, and like we did, you know, a couple songs with like Winnipeg's Most and a couple other artists that were doing good, especially in Canada at the time, that really helped us boost. So like we started to gain a lot of traction with that. So Trips ended up coming along for all these shows, and then just obviously the next logical step was to add him, and then we just started doing Doom Squad, the three of us.
I don't remember when, but I remember the day that we were like officially Doom Squad. Kripal looks over at Nines and is like, so we making Trips Doom Squad? And Nines like looks back at Kripal like, Trips been Doom Squad, what are you talking about, right? And so it was just like, okay, sweet, we're gonna do this.
I've been fortunate enough to do a lot of traveling with the squad and in other cities too, but especially in Edmonton, like the home base, and for years of growing their fans and audience around here.
Squad, Doom Squad, say Doom Squad, Doom Squad, say Doom Squad, Doom Squad, say Doom Squad, Doom Squad. Thank you very much. We're Doom Squad. Y'all have a great night. Give it up for Doom Squad.
So up next, you need a minute? Couple minutes? All right, man. Relax for a minute. Up next, we're gonna hear DJ Nato.
The artist that I was listening to, I guess, growing up was...
Well, everybody that was around in my time. I used to bump a lot of it, and it was mostly MySpace, and then it kind of started to convert. But like Toxic Soul, Politic Live, Peep Game,
Pravelli Paragon.
Politic Live was probably the first Edmonton group that I heard about.
Kripal and Trips, like, I know that they had their thing going on before I came along.
Toxic Soul, Boombox.
Yak Dollars and Contraband.
Brothers Grimm after that.
Contraband and Fatty Jones.
Brothers Grimm, Politic Live, like Kazmega.
Peep Game. I grew up in Millwoods. Peep Game was big in Millwoods.
Fatty Jones, all these guys that were all doing shows and were like the bigger guys. I don't use the air quotes like that, but like the bigger guys in Edmonton that were at the time were like, you know, that Kazmega, all of these guys. You remember Homegrown Soul Shack?
Yeah.
That put me on to so many Edmonton artists because they had that You Already Knew mixtape, and I was like, all of these guys are from Edmonton? I heard about everybody from that, 118. I'm missing so many, but like, yeah, I started listening to everybody after that because I was like, this is Edmonton, let's go.
Homegrown Soul Shack was a hip-hop shop, I guess you would call it, on White Avenue, and they sold just like mixtapes and custom clothing, and they had a barber shop in the back, and they would do a whole bunch of really cool stuff. And they also had a music section, and while working there, I had the opportunity to go through and get exposed to a bunch of music. Working at Homegrown Soul Shack, that really gave me an opportunity to see what the scene had available.
Yeah, Doom Squad, Charlie Fetta, 2017, Winnipeg to Edmonton, let's go. Hey, who Who you think you talking to, you little punk? Ignorant chump, boy, you probably vote for Trump. Lots of cancer in the game, you gotta check for lumps. They clear cut in the forest, we only left with stumps.
Well, I remember too, we were in the middle of our Cypher series as well. And I think if we want to talk community, that was where we put the majority of our efforts. Was we would, you know, there was a few circumstances where there wouldn't be someone from Edmonton, like Merck or, you know, Dreezus, or like a couple of, you know, bigger names or whatever, some homies out east as we were touring and all that stuff. But it started with Edmonton artists, and we would look specifically to people who were working hard and that had passion, right? And then that was our attempt at like trying to bring community to what we were doing, because there's that fear where when you step away from the tribe, that people are gonna get the wrong idea that you don't support like that. And we wanted to make sure that people were feeling that love, even if it was from a distance, because we had our sights set on, like, you know, the top. You know,
I'm the product of knowledge and light of ignorance. My innocence a symptom of sin from cynic indifference. But all I've said in this world, they haven't heard it, no. We would know, cause they'd all be suffering from vertigo. I ran away from every open door and towards all the closing ones. I simply can't afford to open more. But it's the hunger inside I find why I'm alive. But why fly when there's Wi-Fi in the sky?
If I'm remembering it correctly, it was vibrant. It wasn't because it wasn't vibrant necessarily because it was like the best shows happening all the time, or necessarily the best artists that you would personally want, but it was just, there was something happening and there was something building, and you would see this happening over time, and you would see this in sort of certain events that would literally catapult the scene into like, okay, well, all right, well, what's happening next? You know, we were chatting about this earlier, but you know, Brothers Grimm having one of the first commercial grade, you know, videos at the time, with so much going into it, and for all of the flaws and that happened for the process, by the end there was actually something that the city looked at and went,
people were going to shows and everyone was doing shows, and you know what, it wasn't even considered a bad thing to have 12 openers on a slot like before the main act, right? Like it was ciphers everywhere, White Out was jumping, right? Like, so I guess in hindsight things were like probably the best that I'd seen them in Edmonton hip hop.
it was cool because you have people with interests all the way from like low-level promoters to guys booking battles to guys booking medium and higher end shows. You saw the development of a bunch of different types of artists with a bunch of different types of styles. And this is why Edmonton is interesting, because there is this sort of this microcosm where I'm sure every other city is gonna have their scene, but Edmonton's scene is that microcosm of these kind of different styles that people will hold on to, but ultimately there's like this kind of, I don't know how to explain it, there's this just genuineness that comes through with most of the prominent artists in Alberta, Edmonton. And it doesn't matter exactly what type of style they're married to originally, they do still somehow come to this almost Edmonton-like style, where it's just super fucking honest and vulnerable, you know?
I remember back in the day, like when we were really starting to do it, we were like, the music scene, like we want to build the music scene. It was always about the scene. It was always about, and like now there's rappers in Edmonton I ain't even heard of that are just doing things. You know what I mean? So I'm like, that's friggin' cool. So even if, like again, if it stopped here, I was like, yeah, we still accomplished a lot of those goals. Regardless if we weren't there in the square every day, shaking hands, kissing babies. You know what I mean? We were trying. But that's what it was. We felt the love and we gave the love.
It was good at the time. Like from what I remember, it was thriving. It's really hard to put like a exact time on the dates, like when it was happening. But if I remember correctly, around that time, like we had people like Comrade and J-Reds and like all of these younger people that we all grew up rapping together started throwing shows, and like so our show community was thriving because we had so many different people bringing different artists of different walks. Like Comrade would bring different, like he'd bring underground guys, and J-Reds would bring underground guys but from a different subcategory, and like then I have other friends that are bringing big shows. Like Greg owned Union Hall by that time, and so now he's starting to bring all of this stuff to like so everything was starting to like really bubble at that point, I think. Because the internet was starting to thrive too, and now artists from Edmonton were starting to get recognition elsewhere, because before the YouTube and the Facebook and Instagram, it was really hard to get yourself outside. Like, so that really, and especially for me, I've really seen it because I was booking these tours at this point. Now I'm like, there's people across this entire country that know who I am, and when I hit them up to book these tours, like, yeah, let's go, like, let's do this. I'm like, it's crazy that it's able to reach that far. So I think the climate was good. I don't think it really changed much aside from COVID.
I float away, my mind trying to take me to a new place, don't know the way, and I feel like everybody's in my space, just go away, and I got these problems that I gotta face, I'm so afraid, they say everything will be alright one day, well I hope today.
The song came about just making the album. We kind of got, at this point, we were all living together. Me, Stevie Trips, and Sonic. We all were living in the same house, so it was really easy. Like that was the fun time, man. You know, so we were just making an album. Kind of like, I was planning the tour. We needed an album to go along with the tour. We already had the Countdown mixtape, so we did the Countdown 2. That's what this was. And we're just making music. We went to Stresses one day, got like 6 beats from him, and that was one of them.
Honestly, like it was like any other song, right? There was a beat, and then we had an idea, and we just had a vibe, and we just kind of rolled with it. It was just to be one of many on the repertoire. That was kind of, we were just getting into trying to become a more cohesive sound as a unit and have something more than just bars to offer, you know what I mean? So that was one of the songs that was meant to just kind of represent our growth as a group. You know, I think we didn't really think anything of it. It was just another song.
And it was really interesting because we started, I think, picking up the vibe real quickly from each other. And
we've always been open about about that stuff. Like I've always been willing to be vulnerable with my music. Like, what is it for, man? This is to heal. This helps me heal just as much as it could help anybody else. I don't do this to help other people. I do this to help myself. But I think being that when you're genuine like that and you talk about your feelings, it has the power to help other people.
I think a lot of people relate to it from, like, you know, all artists' point of view, you know, or if they don't, something clicks in for them to be like, well, like, why does he say that, you know, or why is he saying that?
They're all coming at their verses from different approaches about what makes them just anxious and emotional, and people, I think, really appreciated that.
And that's basically what it is. Like, you got some issues, talk about it. It's, especially as men, we don't talk about our feelings to our bros. But when I sit in a room with my brothers and we want to write a song about it, yo, we can all get deep.
And I think that's what made it connect with so many people. It's like, oh, cool, I'm hearing 4 grown men be super friggin' real with me right now, and I can relate to some of that.
To me, it was more personal at the time. Like, I didn't even think I was gonna rap about that, you know? But it's just like, I had to get some weight off my chest, I guess, you know?
It's healthy to talk about that kind of stuff. So I think, you know, so many people go through it. It's just, yeah, you have to talk about that kind of stuff. You gotta be vulnerable. You gotta be open to, like, being the real you. And that's part of life, is depression, anxiety, and, like, mental illness.
Just like at the end, when the song was made, it was just like, okay, yeah, this song was meant to be made, you know?
Keep it concealed, everything we build, we gonna continue to build it. See us on the bill, we step up in the building and kill it. Remember when I kissed my best friend on his forehead, praying that I could die with them tears leaving the flow. Where I carried his casket on out to the hearse. How selfish I was at his funeral on volumes of perks.
People really took to that song, and you can see it from the beginning. at any show, you would see people, the crowds would be singing along, which isn't something that happened very frequently for Edmonton groups, let alone more than just the hook.
What I can tell you is that locally, at least when the song came on, when we were doing it live, that it created a special energy because it created a special connection with the room, you know? And I think that we could have always ended it on that song and people would have been happy. We never did. We always would do like, you know, IDGAF, but you know. Yeah, I think that, I mean, it was quick enough that people could, that we could do it at a live show without bringing the energy down, which was really important, especially Doom Squad, and deep enough that people could still connect with it.
In the crowd, like I've seen people crying, I've seen people hugging, right? Just from what this song brings out of people.
You get the odd inbox or like people hit you up in person and they're just like, that song's just like amazing, like it like helped me, like stop me from killing myself and like stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, it's big, like, you know, and it can affect people like that. That's cool, you know. I respect things like that, you know. It personally helped me in a way, like up and down in my life, just like keep my eye on the prize no matter what I'm going through. So, you know, if I could do it, anybody can do it.
I can tell you it had a good effect on a lot of people, because when I go and I read those YouTube comments, man, that almost brings me to tears. Like people telling detailed stories about how it saved their life. Oh, I was gonna kill myself if I listened to this song. Like that's crazy, man.
For the rest of artists around Edmonton to see something like that, I think it probably inspired them again in the way that it's possible to have a song hit and make big numbers out of Edmonton, but also that you can just do real music and people will appreciate it and respect it.
Shouts out Thomas Bolton. That was our little star of the video. He was our little lost soul wandering through Edmonton. He is a big time supporter, and he's that dude that's always at the show at noon to be first in line. Even though the show would only start, the doors ain't till 7 o'clock, he's there just like camped out in the hot heat or the pouring rain, and he's like a supporter of Edmonton hip hop and beyond. Like, he is a true supporter, and every artist needs 1,000 Thomas Boltons. So that's the goal.
When we were making this album, when it was done, this was all of their favorite songs. Lost My Mind, they loved it. And I'm not saying I didn't love it, but there was another song on the album called Mistakes. And I thought that was the one. And I thought Play With Fire was another one. And so I rallied against that being a single. I'm like, this song is 5.5 minutes long and has 4 rapping verses. It just doesn't seem to fit the mold of what a single would be. So when we shot the videos, we didn't even end up doing one for the Mistakes one. We did one for 4 Pound and for the Play With Fire. And about 5 or 6 months, it's hard to gauge the timeline, but like a while after the album come out, I'm looking at the numbers, and Lost My Mind is doing crazy numbers on Spotify. This is around the time Spotify started. So there was no playlist like that. There was maybe like 10 playlists. I'm watching this song jump. Like, I'm just doing 5,000 plays a day, 10,000 plays a day. I'm like, this is crazy. I was like, we should shoot a video. And we were all living together, so we sat in the house one day. And we were just sitting in the basement 10 or 11 in the morning, and it was like, yo, let's go shoot a video for this. Keep in mind, we tried to do a video before. I left this out. We shot a video that was crazy complex. Green screen, cut out in our head, and us inside of our head. But the editing time that it took, we couldn't get the video finished in time that we wanted to promote the album, so we just scrapped it and started working on other things. Fast forward, we're sitting at, let's just go do a video. One location each, and have one of our fans come and just walk around through the whole video like he's lost in his mind, just roaming aimlessly. And so that's what we did, and we did it all that day and put it out, and the numbers on Spotify still continued to climb. The video numbers climbed. It was very organic.
Right away, it got more attention than we expected, and like So that was on the Countdown to Doomsday 2 album, and like there's some gems. There was a lot of those ones on that album, and we honestly didn't really expect it. We knew that it would probably get some positive feedback, but we didn't expect it to get the majority of the attention on that album. Like, you know, fast forward 10 years later, we didn't think we would still be performing that on stage.
You know, people were rapping along with all or some parts of it and just showing love.
And I remember the LSD tour, we finished it off here at home, and like we barely even had to sing the song. Everyone was just jamming it for us. Like it was just like, wow, like, you know, if it were to stop right here, I remember my goals as a child, and it was that feeling. So it's like, for all intents and purposes, that was the literal dream. So that was really cool. It was just, it impacted us because it impacted them, right? We didn't expect that.
You know, I'd already started booking tours at this point. When that song started to do really well, I started noticing a few things. The song itself, it wasn't like we had a breakout hit single or anything like that. It wasn't this song, that gradually over time just kept growing and growing and growing. So there was no major like overnight impact or anything, but as time went by and I started booking the next tour the next year with the next album, now I have 1 million views on one song, 1 million plays on one song. Now we have this song that's been on radio and featured on a bunch of different other blogs and all of these things, and we got a lot of coverage over it. So now when I'm trying to book, I have all of these accolades that I can add to the EPK to start promoting us, which, you know, now we get on Shambhala and we're getting on bigger festivals and bigger shows and getting better placements on shows, and you know, people are taking us more seriously now that, oh, they got 1 million plays on that one song. Oh, that's actually great. Okay, this is real for them. So that's when I started to see like I could start to use that to our advantage to get bigger sponsors, bigger everything, right? And then, so that's majorly how it affected us, was just, I used it to grow. Like you plant that seed and you just let it grow. You know, water it every day.
It has to be like a huge impact as far as one record getting all kinds of play. There was already a lot of attention on Doom Squad by the time that came out. That was like I think it was the 3rd single from the Countdown to Doomsday 2 project. So like there was already other things and their Cypher series was ongoing, and Kripal had already reached out and done songs, videos with Peter Jackson by that point, and so it wasn't that they were an unrecognizable name, but I think like with that attention that had been focused on them at that point, and a song like this that resonates with so many people comes out and just exploded. And I think that was maybe not something that they were accounting for, that it would take off like that, but I might be wrong, but I don't think I am. I'm pretty sure it's the first original song by an Edmonton hip hop artist to get over 1 million plays on Spotify. It's actually, I was checking it today, it's 1.3 million on that one, just on Spotify. I don't know iTunes numbers, there's 300,000 views on the video on YouTube. So just for those kind of numbers to happen, I think put a lot of fire inside the boys to do more, and as well kind of reaffirm that they're on the right track, and with their honest and open thoughts.
We didn't have much. You know what we had? We had resources and we had a work ethic. We built a studio to record out of because we didn't have the money to keep going to the studio all the time. We learned how to make beats because we couldn't afford to be buying beats all the time. You know, the blessing in disguise for us is Sonic. That's like nobody gives that man enough credit, us included. Like, without him, we wouldn't have any of it. Like the branding, the videos, like this guy kept all of our graphic designs on par. Like all of our tour flyers look professional. The continuity on everything always stayed. Color schemes, all of these things. Like obviously I'm aware of these and I'm adding my input, but without having somebody that can make our videos, all of this random little vlog content or contests or all of these little things that built our brand higher because the quality was good, on par and consistent, was all Sonic. And that was a huge part. And people, because music is perception, man. If somebody perceives that you're doing well, they're going to treat you like you're doing well. Or if you look like, so he made the perception of us make bigger because nobody else was doing what we were doing at the consistent rate at that. So I think that would be the effect that maybe made people work harder or see that there's more to it than just going to the studio and posting it on your Facebook page. Because, you know, this is a night and day job. Like, there's a lot.
A lot of talent. Like they definitely have talent, but it's work. It's grinding. It's doing the shows for 2 people and still doing your show and not just hanging it up. And the show is for 2,000 people. And you show up and you reach down and you help bring everyone else up with you. Doom Squad means, again, I guess it depends who you talk to, but I think they're definitely a cornerstone of Edmonton hip hop now. After the fact of everything that they've gone through over the first 10 years or so of the group being an actual thing together, they've established that you can build from the ground up in Edmonton and be successful and still be true to your art and do what you want when you're creating the music. They've shown that yeah, you can literally go from having nothing in your pockets to touring across the country and multiple times, and just the determination and drive that these guys have shown, and Kripal just never ever giving up with anything from learning to rap to learning to make beats, and in the middle it took a while to, and it's still a work in progress, but he organized all of that by himself. He organized the coast to coast tours, 4 of them, and with like 30 plus shows, and just for everything that they've built, I think means so much to Edmonton hip hop, because it shows that you can do it too.
Now, this was one individual group that did this, but as a city, you felt that, okay, well, we've hit this milestone, now what? And that is huge, you know what I mean? Sorry. It's a good confidence boost. I mean, it was one of Doom Squad's best songs. I think it's still one of their best songs on, things like Spotify and whatnot. It's done well on YouTube. It always does well at live shows. It's messed up when I mess up my lyrics and the crowd still knows it. So it's kind of like, I'm kind of going like, what? And they're going like, what? So it's the same, but it's completely different. It's awesome. It's super fun.
There are people from Edmonton who are making big noise lately, but they've all left Edmonton to do it. And Doom Squad's stayed around still, and that sort of speaks to their community involvement and why they're staples around here, and people will continue to love and support them, hopefully, and because they're around to offer their wisdom and guidance, just like Arlo and Politic Live guys are around, but that's two reasons why, like both of these groups, and just how they continue to try to help bring up the next generation. They're 2 of the strongest cornerstones of Edmonton hip hop, I think, for sure.
If anything, I think what we did, and not even just Lost in My Mind, but as a whole, was just made it okay to be vulnerable and be yourself. at the same, you know, we'd be funny, we'd be vulnerable, we did dumb skits, we did, you know what I mean, all of these random things, like, yo, and as at the same time, take what you have and do the best with it.
I float away, I float away. My mind try to take me to a new place, don't know the way, don't know the way. And I feel like everybody's in my space, just go away, just go away. And I got these problems that I gotta face, I'm so afraid, I'm so afraid. They say everything will be alright one day, well I hope today. Cause I've been looking for the light, hoping that it come out tonight. It's so cold, got these demons inside, I just wanna figure out why. I don't know. Put my life on the line, I don't even care if I'm fine. Oh no, don't know when the light burned out. In the dark, think about how my life turned out. Cause I never listened, should be doing good instead I'm sitting, just reminiscing, forever wishing that I seen this in my premonitions. Now this demon on my shoulder is trying to give me an exorcism, but I won't let him win, he won't never spread the venom. And I'd rather be left for dead than a specimen. Almost at the point where I ain't wanna grab the pen again. You can holler at me in a year, I might be better then. But right now I'ma just chill, time to figure out what's real. Cause everything around me fake, the ocean still for real, and the ground it shakes. It's like people always wanna bring me down a peg. Got so much on my mind but don't know how to say it. But the least I can do now is help myself. So now every time I'm down I just tell myself, I say
I've been doing so good, I'ma take you out the hood. Yeah, I've been doing alright, but I ain't been feeling so good. I'd be there if I could, but I've been tripping like all night.